Well, good afternoon in New York and good morning in California. And I have no idea what time it is in Australia. I've never been able to do those time zone conversions, but I'm thrilled that so many of you are able to join us live on LinkedIn and on Facebook Live. And many more of you will watch this video. Once it's over, we'll post it online so that you can enjoy it even if you couldn't be there live. And even if you want to watch it again, it's going to be there. I'm very, very excited about this particular panel. We have girls who are teens. I'm going to let them introduce themselves to you and tell you a little bit about who they are and what they do. But they are part of a program I call Teenangels that's now 22 years old. And we take teens as young as 13 and as old as 18 in the main program, and we turn them into cybersafety experts. They testify at the United Nations. They help design content and programs. One of them sits on MTV's Public Affairs Board with me. They've spoken and advised Google and Facebook over the years and Nintendo. They are my real experts. And the reason I know as much as I do about what young people are doing online is because I have the secret source. I ask them and they tell me. So as we talk about girls and boys online, and we talk about sexual exploitation and high-risk behavior like sexting and sextortion and bad things that people do to young people by taking their heads and putting it on somebody else's naked body. And what that means in a world where nobody should be exposed to this, but certainly not 12 and 13-year-olds or 10-year-olds. So I thought that the girls could run their own panel. I'll be there behind the scenes in case things break. You should know that they are from New Rochelle, and New Rochelle is one of the first places to shut down effectively in a special lockdown in the United States when they had so many cases that were coming out of this one area. So everyone's online in New Rochelle, as modern and as high tech as it is. You may see some of the girls disappear as even as high tech as they are in New Rochelle. The strain on the networks are taking down the big cables and other networks. So be patient. If somebody gets off, hopefully we'll get them right back on. But it's very important that they share with you what they know, what they need, and get your help on changing the world in their own way. So I'm going to introduce Erica and Mahia and Lana and Kate. There you are. And I'm missing somebody. Where Erica? There you are. I thought I was introducing you. Hi, girls.
Hi.
Hi.
I feel like Charlie's Angels. I feel like Charlie. Hi, girls. Okay, so I'm going to get off screen and let you run it. Good?
Cool. Yeah. Okay. Well, hi everybody. So I guess we can kind of just start off with like the whole child predator situation that goes on, right? Like I feel like that's like such a big thing. And I know that like a lot of the times it's like you think you know someone but you've never met them in person, and so you like add them online or you like become friends with them on Instagram or something. And then like turns out it's some like weird 40-year-old creep like in his basement. Like definitely. Yeah, it's happened to me before, like where I'm just like,
me too, yeah.
You sound familiar, like I think I know you, and you add them back and then it's some like weird guy.
Like so
yeah.
Not really your friends, they're just people you might know.
Mm-hmm.
Hard with like
I know. People. And I read this stat a few days ago. It was like 1 in 5 US teenagers who like regularly log onto the internet say they've received unwanted sexual solicitation on the web, and only 25% of them tell their parents. Like it's just not talked about enough.
Yeah, there's definitely a social stigma, and it's embarrassing and uncomfortable to talk about it with adults.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like kids still feel like they'll get in trouble if they bring that to the attention of the adults, like somehow it'll be their fault.
Yeah, like you should be more careful, you should know.
Yeah.
And it's true in a sense that like, yes, you should be more careful and you should only be adding people that you know. But it's like, I don't know, like there's something about like meeting someone new, talking to someone new that's like exciting. Yeah. But like it's also like dangerous. And as teenagers, I think like we should really be talking about like the mistakes that we're making so that way they don't happen for other people.
Yeah.
It's also the part
I don't know.
in this generation, I feel like there's a lot of pressure to do things or that's known around our age. And I think it's hard to talk to your parents about that because they might have not lived the same life that we lived in our generation with technology being so broad as it is.
Yeah.
So when it comes to technology, it's hard to bring up about them freaking out or getting you in trouble or embarrassed. So I think it's hard to really talk to them about it if you don't understand.
Yeah, and I think like the way things are now is just a lot different than the way that they used to be. Like when I was young, there was no like safety online. It was a lot of like, oh, like here's this book, like don't take a candy from strangers, like don't get in someone's car that you don't know. And like that stuff is still true in a sense, but it's also it's a bigger picture now. It's like, yes, don't take candy from strangers, but also don't tell a stranger where you live. Don't give them your email address. Don't give them your real name. Like, because all that happens online.
Yeah, I agree with that. Because also going off in our parents' day and age, they didn't have like the technology and the resources that we have now. So coming to them and telling them, hey, this 40-year-old man like tried to DM my Instagram, they'll be not as understanding as to how we got into that situation.
And like sometimes it's definitely not our fault. Like having an Instagram is not our fault. People find you every day and DM you. That's not you can't do that. And I think parents are like, shut down. We don't want you having Instagram, but it's not really like we deal with
that we connect with each other too. It's like the way that you connect with your friends, with your family, especially now, like since everyone's on self-quarantine, like
that's true.
the way that we're talking to each other and we're interacting with each other is through social media.
Yeah.
I think it's
and part of that
today.
Yeah.
Personally,
and part of that, adding new people on, say you add new people on Snapchat or Instagram because you're bored at home being quarantined.
Like literally.
Yeah. So you want to talk to more people, but then some kids don't understand that you can't go and add every friend you meet in your quick ad.
And I think it's hard with Snapchat because I was like, oh, it's very private, but it's really not. And it's hard for us to differentiate the difference.
I think a big issue with all of it is just awareness. I think kids aren't taught enough, like especially in schools. Like if you're a kid taking your weekly computer class or something in school, like I think internet safety should be a big topic on like what they teach the kids and like how to behave on the internet. Because like another thing I read was like 75% of kids are willing to share personal information online about themselves and about their families, like for some sort of like service, like a game that you're playing on the internet. It's like, oh, give us your credit card and we'll give you like 50 gems. Like, do I know that that's real? No. But like, is a kid gonna like
no
difference? No. And then you have to talk to them about it.
Yeah.
We talk about awareness. So what does awareness look like? If I turn around and say, don't take naked pictures, or don't talk to people you don't know, or don't share personal information because someone's going to give you gems, or if somebody offers to pay you money to take off your clothes, that's probably not a good thing to do. And we know these things are happening, right? But if an adult comes in and talks to you about this, are you just going to close off and think we're boring and lecturing you and don't know what we're talking about?
Yeah, honestly, I think the older that we are, like teenagers think that they know everything. And so I feel like we're less susceptible to listen and understand that what adults are telling us is true. And I think that's why you need to start young by advising the little kids because they're growing up with the internet. It's not like they're starting to use it when they're teenagers. They use it when they're little.
And Kate, what do you think? I need to get you, Kate, while you still have internet. What do you think?
I think it's important that like groups like Teenangels are around because like Erica said, we're not likely to listen to adults who didn't grow up with this in their lives. So like us who are experiencing it firsthand, educating and making people aware of the dangers, I think is important, and other teenagers would be more likely to listen to us.
And what do you think, Alana? Do you think Teenangels are part of the answer to this, having peers talk to the kids?
I think it's hard for an adult to come in and tell us, oh, don't sex when they don't understand how like pressured many young girls are into, how normal it is in our society. And I think if they gave us more answers of what to do if it happens, not do it at all. Because there's situations that we can't avoid that will happen. We can't just not talk to any boy on the internet because half the time they're going to ask for something. So if we learn about how to deal with it when it happens rather than not do it at all, I think that would be a lot more beneficial to help our generation.
And what do you think, Mahia?
I think that, well, as a teen angel, I know it's our responsibility to educate the younger kids because they have this technology in their hands, but they don't know the real consequences that can come with using it and not using it correctly because they're not concerned with college applications or future job opportunities for themselves right now. All they're concerned about is trying to fit in with their friends and trying to look cool using social media apps that maybe their older sibling has or has showed them, but they don't really know how to use it. So I think it's important that they learn and are educated on the topic.
So do we scare you with the real stories that's happened with Rehtaeh Parsons, who was she went with a friend to a slumber party and they gave her lots of vodka and 4 boys raped her, and then they took videos of the rape and they posted them online. And she was 15. For 17 months, she tried to get them down. She tried to get law enforcement to do something. And eventually she took her own life because she just felt hopeless on this one. So is that something that's helpful, or is it just too frightening to talk to young people about?
I think
and 13-year-old is a young person.
Yeah, I think it hurts to hear, but I also think it shows people, I mean, her getting like drunk at a sleepover didn't necessarily like automatically mean she was going to get raped. I think that was just something really unfortunate that happened to her. But it also shows you like precautions, like on the internet, like people need to be, like the policies need to be better. The fact that it took 17 months for those videos to get taken down, something that's so illegal, so wrong, 17 months for it to get taken down. I think that's what really should be taken away from that story, is that policies like that needs to change.
Amanda Todd, and we'll be hearing from her mom tomorrow. And you can listen to the video I did with Leah Parsons, Rehtaeh's mom, yesterday. But Amanda Todd she was depressed. She had anxiety. She was on medication. She was seeing a psychiatrist. She was on birth control pills, and hormones will change a lot. And she was online. And some man, we found out he was from Holland, and now he's being brought to Canada to be prosecuted in Canada. He had about 130 girls he was doing this to, and he said, send me a topless pic, and she did. And then he used it as his profile pic, and he said, I'm going to share it with everyone unless you do more. And she ended up taking her own life because of the sextortion, the blackmail that came from it. And we've always thought those stories were helpful, along with research the Teenangels did many years ago. 70% of the teens, earlier Teenangels had polled, said that they regretted what they had done on their webcam. Are those real stories important in getting kids to stop taking these pictures or being a lot more cautious?
I think there should be an in-between. I think we should definitely hear those stories. But I mean, I can tell you when I was last year, if I heard a story that was so far from what I would expect, it would be hard for me to understand and really grasp it. So if I heard more stories about that were bad, but not as so frightening and so far from what I would imagine, it would also hit home more. I think I would be able to more understand they were coming from, so it was a little more closer to like what I would expect, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. What do the rest of you think?
I think the real stories are very important. They show real people who these misuses of technology have happened to, and I think that hearing the stories from people and realizing that this is a real problem happening to real people in the world. They're not just stories from television shows. They're not just YouTube videos of people trying to be aware. They're actually happening in the world. And I think that if we can see that, how prominent of a problem it is, that we would be able to work harder and fix it.
Do you all agree?
Yeah.
We call that make it real. You take real stories, not made up ones. And there's the suicides are one thing, but you're so distracted by the horrors of that often the real message is you could be that person is missed. But there was one case in New Jersey, and I worked on a television special with MTV called When Privates Go Public. And she had been going out with a boy. He wanted to have sex. She wasn't ready for it. She was, I think, 15. They broke up, and then he said if she'd sent him a topless pic, he'd go back with her. So she went to her two friends, and she put her arms around her two friends. She took off her top, put her arms around her two friends. So you see head, breast, head. So you didn't see her head. You just saw her friend's head when she had her arms around them. And he sent the picture to the boy, and the boy sent it to everyone. And it made its way to the 13-year-olds, which included her brother, who didn't know it was his sister because her head wasn't in the picture, just these two girls, her friends. And he enjoyed that picture and didn't find out it was his sister for a couple days. And that ick factor, that your brother saw this picture and didn't even know it was you, that often has more of an effect than even talking about the suicides. What do you think?
I agree. I think it's more, I don't know, from my perspective, it would be, if I heard that, I would be like, wow, that could have happened to me. Like, that is a real story. Like, that makes me really like, uncomfortable. And like, I think without taking the horror from the suicide, I feel like when you tell that story, you think about the suicide, you think about like the gore. But when you think about something that's like more, just makes you uncomfortable in a way that will
it just really makes like so deep, especially like with those of us who actually like do have siblings, and like we go to an old school and we know how fast that these pictures can get spread from school to
very true
school, and it's like it could very easily get to someone that I care about, and I don't want them seeing those pictures of myself. And it just really it resonates with you because you know that if you did make a bad decision and chose to do something like that, that it could just as easily happen to you.
I've definitely seen that happen before. Where like one bad decision gets everywhere in that matter.
So why you go to a girls' school, so you understand how cyberbullying intersects with sexting, right?
Yes.
And so often when the pictures are of girls, boys and girls send them. Boys are usually look at what you're missing, and we need to explain to them that that's unlikely to get them the girlfriend they want. And that's a good message for boys. Just say, you want to go out with me? Don't send me this picture. That's, guaranteed I'm going to block you forever. But when the picture is of a girl, why do you think the girls share that picture among everyone they can so quickly?
I think it's when you're sending them to someone that you trust, and then they send it to their friends like, whoa, like look at her, and they send it over here and they send it over here. And then guys, I think they share it to each other for a completely different reason than the girls do.
I think girls are they think the boys like them more. I mean, I've definitely like thought that and seen it firsthand, like, oh, this boy will like me if I do what I have to, or go find it from someone else. So you said, and then the boy, I don't know, funny, brag, he got this, tells his friends, look, I'm cooler than you, I have this, you don't. So it's definitely different. And I think when school, boys don't really know how to talk to girls when they go to all boys school.
So the girls do it, mean girls trying to hurt each other, right?
They spread it to spite each other. Like, ew, this girl's so nasty. Why would she send these? These are gross. And then it gets to everyone, and everyone has to see like this intimate part of yourself that was only meant for that one person.
Yeah, and it definitely gets out of context.
They're experts who I trust on certain things in cyberbullying and some other areas, who say that we should teach kids how to have safe sexting. Is there such a thing as safe sexting?
I don't think so.
I don't believe so.
As long as it's on the internet, it's not safe.
I don't.
Read something and not know, like the amount of ways you can take a picture of something and know there's no way to keep it safe. There's no way that can be.
We all have a digital footprint. There's everything. Once you put it out there, it's out there. There's no taking it back.
So they said that you should only send it to someone you trust. Does that make a difference?
No.
I think because they don't realize the legal part either. Like having those photos are illegal and they can be charged with a crime for that.
Yes.
They are illegal. Do you think that makes a difference if somebody's in love and the boy you really want to go out with says, "Send me a topless picture"? Does the fact that it's illegal going to stop you?
No. And
I don't think so.
it's because the illegal part of it isn't pushed enough. I think like you hear it, it's like, oh, like that's child pornography, like you're holding child pornography. But it's like, well, I'm a child, he's a child, so like, does it really matter? And yes, it does, because it's not just him that's seeing it, it's so many others.
Yeah, it's interesting that the laws let you have sex with somebody about your age, but you can't take a picture of it. That's a bigger crime. We'll deal with that. But is there any way to, let's say you send it to somebody you trust, and he doesn't send it to anybody else because he's trustworthy, but his mom checks out his cell phone to make sure he's supervised, or his little brother knows his code and he's always trying to use it for gaming, or his friends pick it up at the lunch table or in the locker room. I mean, even if you trust somebody, even if they're careful, it gets out.
And even if you trust,
you can't trust anyone online.
You might not trust somebody when you break up.
And then you're going out today, and tomorrow he hates you.
Yeah.
He does the very thing he needs to get back at you.
Things change all the time. Like, I don't think that you can send something and know for sure that it's never going to get in the hands of someone else.
So what do we say? Let's assume it's a 12 or 13-year-old. You're talking to a group of kids in school, girls first. You're talking to girls, and they say, well, you know, everybody's doing it. What's your answer to that?
I'd be like, when I was your age, I thought that too. But when I grew older, I knew that just because everyone does it doesn't mean it's right. And you might think that it's fine now, but when you're older and see the consequences that it's hit your friends and it's hit you, you're going to regret every day that you think you thought that.
Kate, you're quiet, so I keep calling on you because I know your reception's not terrific. But do you think that we know better because we're older? Is that the right answer, do you think?
I don't think it's that we know better. I think we learn from experience, like firsthand. As you get older, you've witnessed, like, due to social media, some people have not gotten into their dream schools or gotten their dream jobs. So I think we learn more from experience, and we're not as like ignorant when we're younger.
And Maya, what do you think?
I agree with Kate. I think that as you mature, as you grow older, you see firsthand experiences for yourself. You see your friends, how the girls who you thought were cool by doing this stuff, how it's blown up in their face. You see celebrities on social media, how their unwanted, unsolicited pictures have been leaked by like pop culture sites like TMZ or all of those. They have no care for anything, like the celebrity ones. They just want to get popular. And I think that seeing and experiencing these things, it's showing how bad the consequences are.
And what about Erica? What do you think? What's the message to them?
I think it's to the younger people. I think we're all kind of finding things out as we go as well, because like, sure, like people have been taking like pictures of themselves like this like for a while with their flip phones or whatever, but like now like the sharing of them is so rapid that it's hard to know like what the consequences will be by the time that I go to college, by the time I want to get a job, because it hasn't really been around that long. And the stories, you see a lot of these pictures getting spread around, but a lot of the times you don't see the consequences happening for them. Mm-hmm. And so I think we need to talk about like those more.
10 years ago, I joined MTV's Public Affairs Board, and they built a site called A Thin Line, talking about the thin line between okay behavior and not okay behavior. And they polled, along with Associated Press, thousands and thousands of young people. So they were teens and young adults, so college students and teens. And they said to them, have you ever sexted? And if the answer was yes, one of the other questions was, have you ever contemplated taking your own life? And those who had sexted, 3 times as many of those reported that they had contemplated suicide after having sexted. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I think that one picture can potentially ruin your life if it gets places that you don't want it to go. And I think that it's so easy to take the picture, but you don't really contemplate what can happen afterwards.
So it's easy to take a picture and hard to live with it.
Yeah.
Kate, what do you think?
Like in the moment, it seems like a good idea. It's like the immediate satisfaction, and like then as time goes on, you realize that you regret it, and there's no going back after that.
Maya, what about you?
Yeah, I agree that in the moment, it may seem not the right decision, but it may seem that you want to take the picture and you want to send it, but you're not thinking of the long-term effects it could have on your future.
And Alana, what do you think?
I believe it's once it gets out there and you see the downward spiral and you see how many people have seen it, it's hard to see like a way that it gets better. So I understand why so many people want to in their own life after, because it's hard to see the future where this is not going to affect you after it gets out there.
So we call this intervention points. The moment in time that if something intervenes, something bad won't happen. So you're getting ready to take a pic. Either it's your idea, somebody else's idea, you're starting to take off your clothes, you hold up the device, you're getting ready to do it. What could we do or build to stop them for a second and rethink? Is there a technology or a message or something that might get them to think at that very vulnerable moment, or is that just too hard?
I think the whole thing about the consequences that come with these actions, like the legal consequences, should be going through that person's head, but I don't think they're spoken about enough. Yeah, I also don't think they're enforced enough. Because if you make an example, like it's unfortunate, but if you make an example with a few kids about actually enforcing this law that does exist, but just isn't enforced enough, I think it'll discourage other people from taking it, because it's like, okay, yes, I could send this picture to someone, or maybe I'd rather just show it to them in person or something, because at least that way it's not ruining my future.
Mm-hmm. And in a perfect world, if there's like a message that said, before you send this, think about the consequences that might follow if this does not end up well. And I think a lot of people who saw that would put down the phone.
So sort of think before you send.
Yeah.
And so maybe we can come up with something that if you're getting ready to do a selfie, but then that would be awful because you have that one moment that you want to take it. And if something's delaying it, you're going to take it off your phone. But if there's anything that you could set up as you're getting ready to do it, that'll say, wait a second, think again, something like that. Would that possibly work, or is that sort of silly?
I think that, so in the context of something stopping you, I think that people take a lot of selfies. We're very in tune with like our social media culture. I think that most people would just delay or disable the action, quite honestly.
Yeah.
And I think the way to get around that is to start inform. That's what Teenangels do. They inform people. I think the information and the guideline aspect of having people know what they're about to do and know the vulnerable positions that they're putting themselves in is beneficial, as opposed to a guideline saying, or a disclaimer saying, be careful.
So we just have to teach them ahead of time, and there's nothing that we can really do then.
I think the most we can do is inform people on what can happen and make sure that the laws are enforced when it does happen. And maybe people will take it from there, and then they'll decide, okay, whoa, now that there's actually consequences that can happen to me because of this, now I'll stop. Because us just badgering on and on, like don't do it, people are like, all right, calm down, like it's not that big of a deal. But it is, because when that picture gets sent around, it's not just going to stay within our age group community, it's going to get places on the dark web, or places that you don't want them to be, that can follow you for the rest of your life. And that's the thing that people aren't thinking of.
Yeah, and most importantly, they will blackmail you when they get a hold of those, require that you pay money, take more pictures, or get your friends involved. Go ahead, I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt.
I think girls are taught a lot more about the problems of sexting than boys, and sometimes it's the boys who pressure the girls into it. So I think if both genders equally learned about it, because I think girls know a lot more about the consequences than boys are ever taught about it. So if both sides learn about the consequences, I think as a whole, it would definitely decrease the number of like problems that are associated with this.
So telling people that it's illegal doesn't really do anything. You don't care, it won't stop you. But if kids start getting arrested and you see the consequences, that would.
I don't know about arrested, but I think something on your permanent record, so that way when you are applying to colleges and jobs, they can see that. Because I think, yes, it's important that laws are enforced, but we also have to remember that these are all minors here. And I think like there's a way that we have to figure out a way to let kids know that this is serious and that there will be consequences, but it won't ruin your entire future as well. So I think that's like the difficult part of this entire situation, is because we're still all kids and we're still all learning, and we do make mistakes. And it's important that we learn from them, but it's also important that we have help and we know that it's not going to ruin our entire lives.
Yeah, I agree, because we can just sit here and say like, oh, this can happen, but until they see it happen, nothing's going to stop them. So I think seeing some consequences for their actions will help eliminate like sexting and stuff.
Do you guys agree?
Yes. In high school, we learn a lot about things that are illegal, and still a lot of high schoolers do it. So it's hard to, we learn about a lot of things that are illegal at high schools: parties, drinking, drugs that high schoolers still do. So it's hard to see another thing that's illegal that kids still do. So I think there's more of a consequence that is known, and more people talk about it, and you knew the side effects of stuff.
So what's the message to boys? I mean, we have boys who are taking their own pictures with "look at what you're missing," and that is just, you're a loser if you do that, I guess, is probably the best message. Really good looking girls saying, I don't think so. But what's the other message to boys? How do we get boys involved in helping stop this?
Don't pressure to go into it.
Yeah. And they should understand that possession and sharing of child pornography is a very big issue. Yeah. Like, no matter how old you are, like, child pornography is like a very big thing that I think people are trying to crack down on more as it becomes more of a relevant issue. And boys should know, like, just because she's the same age as you doesn't mean that it's not child pornography anymore.
So we can let them know about the criminal aspects. What else? Do a lot of girls take it because boys ask them to?
Definitely. Yeah. I think no mom can take it. I mean,
if you love me, you will take this. Yeah. If you love me, kind of thing.
I think boys need to realize that if they loved the girl who they were asking, they wouldn't ask in the first place. Mm-hmm. So I think they need to learn that.
I love that. And I think we might be able to work on some campaigns about that, couldn't we?
Yeah.
I want you to go back to your chapter and see if we can come up with some ideas of what we can do. There was a poster that was done many years ago, and I'll make sure when it gets it to you. There was an award-winning senior at Ursuline who was a photography genius, and she had a full ride to NYU in their art development department, and all of the girls had done research, and they were trying to figure out what was it that we could say to somebody to get them not to sext. And it was, I won't because, and then they just had a whole bunch of the answers. My grandmother might see it. My father might see it. It might ruin my life. Someday my kids might see it. Those kind of things. She did a photo on that. It was very interesting. I'd love for you to take that back and start thinking about videos or challenges or something that we could do that might change behavior.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Now you have 11 minutes. You have a lot of people who are watching now and who will be watching later over and over and over again. Really important people, elected representatives. We hope we'll get it when the world comes a little bit, to Governor Cuomo, who's been a big supporter of Teenangels, and people everywhere. What help do you need? What do you want them to know? What can they do to make a difference in making sure the kids are safer? And I'm going to get off camera and let you talk.
I definitely want them to know that, like, the most important perspective in situations like this is our perspective, because it's essentially our problem.
Yeah.
And I think
agree.
older men, older people dealing with this problem for us isn't going to necessarily benefit us the way that we want it to. Because at the end of the day, like, kids will be kids, we'll make mistakes, and we'll, do things that we regret. But we need to figure out a way that's going to help us and also discipline us at the same time. And I think we all need to work together, including teenagers.
And I think there should be an easier way for teens to communicate to adults about sexting and, like, what happens. Let's say you get into a bad situation about sexting. Like, you want to be able to talk to your parents and know that they're going to understand where you're coming from and not just take away your phone, because that's not going to help the situation. But adults understood how common it was and how it's not always our fault what the situations we're put into. And I think a lot of it would really help our generation. More adults understood.
Yeah, I think that adults, as Erica said, the kids are the ones experiencing this. The sexting, the cyberbullying, everything going on the internet. And I think they really need to put themselves in our shoes and really see things from our perspective. Like, we do know how to be careful on the internet. But sometimes there's just ways that we do need help from the adults, and it's not from them berating or scolding us on issues that they think we could have prevented. I think we need their help.
Yeah.
And their advice more than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we need to, like, educate the teachers and parents, because that's who the kids trust and they're going to go to. So if the parents and teachers know how to deal with it, they can help prevent some of the negative effects of social media in their kids' lives.
And social media is not a bad thing, but I think a lot of kids are afraid if they tell their parents about some of the negative things that have happened to them on social media, they're going to ban it at all. And I think if adults understood the benefits and the negatives of what happened on the internet, it'd be easier to.
Yeah. And I think a lot of the time it's not the issue that teenagers don't know that it's wrong, because, like, deep down we all know that, like, sending these pictures, like, it is wrong. But we also have to understand that it's not the sender's fault every time. It's a lot of the time, it's an ultimatum. If you don't send this to me, then I'm going to break up with you. I'm going to do this. Or if you don't send me more, I'm going to send these to everyone. And so a lot of the times it's like, it's a bigger picture kind of story.
It's definitely a manipulation. Like, I've seen that firsthand when people have been manipulated to sending them, and they're promised they're not going to send it to anyone, and they're in a bad state and they're insecure and they send it and it blows up.
Because each story like this is unique.
Yeah.
Circumstance is different. And I think, yes, it's important to have laws and consequences, but it's also important to listen to each story and to understand motivations behind it and the circumstances. So that way each case, each child will be dealt with in a different way, I guess you could say. Because every story is so involved. Yeah.
Like, sometimes it's two boys who do it to one girl and think it's a joke, and
Yeah, and they need to realize that it's not a joke. Pressuring, it can go two ways, boys and girls. It's the pressuring and the asking of pictures is, first of all, it's legal. And I think that once the legal aspect of that is enforced, because these days it's not as enforced, people brush upon the fact that something's illegal, but I don't think they truly understand what it means to be in possession of child pornography. And then once they do understand that, I think it's a matter of educating them on the morality of it. It's not right. You shouldn't be asking a boyfriend or a girlfriend for pictures just because you don't want them to break up with you.
Yeah. And sometimes I think when we think about someone being in possession of child pornography, you think of some, like, old guy sitting in his basement watching, like, stuff found on the dark web. But it's like, if I send you a picture and I'm 15, you are now, whether you asked for it or not, you're now in possession of child pornography. And it depends what you do. You could delete it because you didn't want it, or you can send it to other people and you could be sharing child pornography, and that's just a completely different issue, because then like, you're the person who's dealing with the crime now. Like, you're the one sharing it.
Definitely, like, in the media, we see these old men or old women who have them, and we've never really seen teens be prosecuted for it, so I don't think that it applies to them.
Yeah, teens don't think that if they have possession of it, they're in the wrong because they're also a teen, but it is still wrong.
Yeah. And I think just like if the laws are enforced like a little bit more and like the way that these laws are presented are kind of changed, then I think kids like across the board can be discouraged from doing it. Because this is a big problem like in the entire world because technology reaches everywhere. And it's not just like it is a big thing in the US, but it's worldwide. And I think every country is different and all the laws are different. So I think we need to be reaching out globally as well.
And I think a lot of it is my daughter wouldn't do that, my son wouldn't do that. But I think we need to understand how widespread this problem is, and it almost affects every high school or teenage school.
Yeah. And I think almost like parents don't really understand why a kid would do this. Like if a girl wasn't pressured and she sent pictures anyway, like why did my daughter do this to herself? Like she should know that. And I think parents don't understand that like this is like it's such a common thing in our like teen culture.
So common,
Yeah, parents don't think that it'll be their child. They always hear about it maybe on the news, newspapers. They always hear about it, but they never think it'll be their child until it is.
I think everyone's almost had a friend or someone they know and they've seen the consequences of it. But adults knew the consequences of it and how it affected people.
And I think it's like the way that parents deal with it as well. It's like okay, I was like going through my daughter's phone and I saw that she had taken these pictures on her phone. So you know what? I'm gonna get rid of her phone, make her delete all these apps, and like really enforce that like this is wrong, this is bad. And then there's the whole like parents shouldn't be dealing with it that way. And then there's the whole like feminist aspect of it. Because if a girl is willingly sending these photos of herself, she's like this is my body, like I want to do what I want to do with it.
But I've seen a celebrity, her things got hacked, and instead of being with the consequence, she just posted it for everyone to see. I mean,
for everyone to see, yeah.
But she's also not a teen, so that's almost a wrong message to send to an underage.
Because I think it's to make children understand that like it's wrong to send these, and it's wrong, especially at your age. But also like we shouldn't be discouraging girls, like making them feel bad about their bodies and being like no one should ever see that. Like
I agree with that.
You know, on the feminist perspective, part of it is you're being objectified too. You know, people are cheapening your value by asking for your breasts. And so, you know, it's both sides. It's your body, you control it, and you should be able to do what you want to with it. But at the same time, it's being used in the old-fashioned way to objectify us. I want to get Kate while we still have Kate. Kate, what do you want to add while we still have you?
I think like education is the most important point, and like hearing other people's real stories, because you can just say like, oh, this can happen, and you're like, oh, that would never happen to me. But hearing people actually went through that, I think it makes it more real. And
Whoops. We lost her a little bit, but I think we understand we need to make it real. So what do you need? This is your commercial now. You're talking to the world. What do you want the IBMs and the Microsofts and the Governor Cuomo and President Trump and everybody else? What do you need from them to do what it is you want to do in this world?
Talk about it more.
Yeah, make it known.
Around sexting, especially around teens, and talk about it more because more people talk about it.
Yeah.
More awareness, funding. So I definitely think it's the stigmas.
I think that the sexting culture is very very hush, very on the down low. It's not something that a lot of adults want to talk about with children because it's an uncomfortable topic, but it's also such an important one, and it teaches children like how to respect themselves and how to prepare for their futures and how to not make these mistakes in life. And I think openness is a really big part of it. And I think we need to be working with lawmakers and people that are in charge of like those types of things to like work with them and like understand like what we can do to help the problem without destroying the kid.
Yeah, and Mahia, what do you think?
I think that awareness is a big part of getting what we need. I think that going off what Erica said, that it is an uncomfortable topic, but it shouldn't be. I feel like we should be able to talk about things like sexting with the children and with the youth, because if they are aware and they know, they're less likely to do it because they need to be informed and they need to be educated.
Do you want a documentary?
That could be something interesting.
Yeah.
Real stories.
Yeah, that could be a good idea.
Real stories of
I really
things that happen to people, like reenactments and stuff. I think that would be good.
I think that might be good. What
Yeah,
about
to
an
help
app?
break the stigma.
What about an app?
An app would be real good.
The one that we're working on.
Yeah, we're working on an app for cyberbullying.
I think that's where teens can go in situations would be a great place.
Because I think cyberbullying and sexting are very intertwined.
Yes,
We can
very.
incorporate that into the cyberbullying app that we're working on.
Yeah.
So you need help with an app. You need a documentary. You want people who are going to help you get the word out, which means the CNNs and the Fox and the Good Morning Americas and everybody else, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what else?
A place where adults could watch something and understand both sides. And sometimes adults are like, oh, I know about this already. I don't want to watch this. But if it's somewhere on like a national level where like they're going to watch it, it's on TV and it's the stigma is removed, they're going to understand how broad it is. And really,
So like,
I need to talk to my daughter about this. Or I need
so like public service announcements, things that they'll see on TV or
Yeah.
they may see on the internet. Do you need money?
definitely
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. Why? What would you need money for?
to get this global.
Take it off.
We're allowed to get the app out.
Yeah.
The app is really
To launch the app.
I think now that you mentioned it, a documentary would be something that's really interesting, like something that they can show in schools that isn't one of those cheesy documentaries that kids are like,
Yeah.
People make on their iPhones. I think money would be needed for a big scale documentary to really show people's stories and how people are affected by what goes on the internet.
And the videos we watch in school are so outdated.
Yes, very outdated.
Laughable because they're just so.
it is laughable. It's a
People
joke.
don't take it seriously enough, and that's part of the reason why the awareness isn't spread.
There's one.
Yeah, they're still using rotary phones, right?
Yeah.
They're just not applicable to us in our generation. So if we had one that was,
Seriously.
and what we would deal with and how to deal with it, I think that would be really beneficial.
Mhm.
I think what we need the most is an understanding.
I think that would be beneficial.
Both sides
Mhm.
of all of these problems is just an understanding and people to work with us, not against us.
Yeah.
I love that one. There's this juvenile psychiatrist in Westchester in White Plains at the big mental health center there who's working with us. And as soon as you are unquarantined and you're allowed to see each other, and you can certainly do it online with him, I thought you may want to interview him and get some thoughts about what he's seeing and what he thinks, especially
Definitely.
with kids who are at risk, kids with mental health problems, special needs kids, kids who are more vulnerable. All of these things that make it easier for the bad guys to get in. Last question, and then I'm going to let you go, is do you think that this coronavirus time with the lockdowns and the quarantines and you being out of school, do you think that it makes young people more vulnerable than they were before? And if so, why?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Absolutely, because
to do with it.
We have a lot of free time on our
Yeah.
phones.
I think the boredom aspect plays in, going back to kids wanting new people to talk to, so they will search for new people to talk to, and these people might not always be the best people.
Good.
yeah,
And they're vulnerable too, because
Mhm.
it's kind of scary. We don't really know what's going to happen. All the businesses are shutting down. You can't go to restaurants anymore. You can't leave your house.
Yeah.
You can't find toilet paper, and all of these things. If you're scared and stressed, there's some creeps out there who are very happy to try to make you feel safe, right?
Mhm.
Us being so
yeah,
close.
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I appreciate all that you do. You guys are amazing. You're always amazing. It's going to be a superstar group, so I'm so thrilled. And then just one thing. Did I tell you what to say today?
No.
No.
You said go on in there and say what you want.
You want.
So a lot of people think I prep teenagers and tell them what to say when they're good, and I'm always surprised.
No.
All right. Thank you so much. You guys were great. I'll tell Edwina how wonderful you are. And
Thank you.
thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Perry.
Thank you.